for example, you look at LA, which we're here right now in LA. In the 90s, Crips and Bloods could not work together on any level.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? If you were DJ Quick, you couldn't work with any Crips like that. If you were, MC8, you couldn't work with Bloods. And then time passed. Then you got people like Nipsey and YG that started working together and actually made it a point. I remember when I interviewed Big U, who put a lot of this stuff together, was like, Nipsey made it a point to try to unify LA. So he would do videos with people like YG, who was a Blood. And like, they would carefully go through the videos and be like, okay, take this scene out because it's got so-and-so's name crossed out in the background, or, so-and-so's neighborhood with an X through it. Like, that's gonna piss them off. So let's just take that scene, let's just fuzz it out or just take that out and carefully try to put this together. And you fast forward to 2024, and I feel like in LA, you don't really have gangs not working together because of their gang affiliation.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So do you think at some point in the future, Chicago rappers, GDs, BDs, will kind of just put that shit aside and say, look, there's a lot of money out here. And all this stuff in the past, because most people don't even know what the beef is over. You know what I mean? Like, you're just told, well, you should like these people because they affiliate themselves with this. Do you think that at some point in the future, it could be like LA where it just doesn't matter anymore?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. It's all about like growing up and going through stuff and changing your mindset. So it's possible.
Do you feel like Chicago's gotten, over the last 5 years, gotten better, worse, or is it about the same?
Well, it got worse.
How so?
The affluence, just the whole affluence that it got on the world in Chicago is just like everything got advanced and amped up times 10. The antics online, the ammunition, the no is no extent to how far you'll go with things now.
Yeah, I mean, it's too bad. Because it wasn't like this, 10, 15 years ago, before social media was what it was like, all right, if I want to do...
Like, not to cut you out, but eventually, like, things either phase out or die off eventually. And then that situation probably die off or phase off, but then similar situations come pick up, like the new generation. It probably don't be the same thing that y'all had going on, but it's the same outcome of what's going on in the streets.
Like, for example, I had Butter on here recently, and we talked about Bloodhound, Lil Jeff.
Yeah.
And Jeff was claiming 10 bodies, and he got shot 12 times. And what Butter said is that King Vons don't last. So he basically said you got a guy like Lil Jeff that was trying to use the King Von blueprint.
Yeah.
In his come up, and his life got cut short over that situation.
Yeah.
And do you think that a lot of young guys in Chicago are trying to do that?
Yeah, for sure. That's basically what then everybody doing in Chicago, but half of the times I feel like they die out faster because they just jumping into something, they don't know the steps of it. They just like, okay, jumping in and go off to diss songs and still got to catch the bus or still got to ride and catch the Uber and
yeah.
Stuff like that. So they don't really know, like, a lot of things can affect you with going that route, especially when you ain't got everything taken care of already. You still a kid. When you first starting off anyway, you still living with your mama. You probably ain't got no money. You got to take these buses. You fucking with these hoes that fucking with these other people, so it's all stuff could play out. But they not knowing this at the time, though.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I went through and counted 19 people I interviewed died in their 20s, 30s.
Yeah.
All of them black. All of them died by gunshot, except for one, Draco the Ruler, who got stabbed. And it was depressing, man. This was after Fulio got killed. So I said, let me go through and see how many people I've actually, we've been doing it for 16 years.
All artists.
Yeah, all rappers.
Yeah.
And it was depressing, man. It was like, damn, like, I'm older than all these guys. Like, I'm literally, I got to live my life longer than all these dudes that we interviewed. And they didn't get to experience getting to my age. Although a lot of them were way more popular and, you know what I'm saying, had a lot of potential. Had fans, had, a good income. And a lot of them, almost all of them died in their own neighborhoods.
For sure.
A lot of them even talked about dying in their own neighborhoods. And it's just, it's depressing, man. It's not something, that's just natural.
Yeah. It's life, man.
It's life, yeah.
Especially when you stay in that environment long enough. You like us as males, or I wouldn't even say as males, but like every day coming out of our house is like we risking our life or knocking on the door of the penitentiary or something.
Yeah, I mean, there were times where I lived in the hood, where I was broke, and as soon as I can get out of there, I got out of there. I remember coming out of the house feeling like it was, it was dangerous outside. I remember coming off a train once, living in Brooklyn, some dudes threw a bottle at me coming off the train, and then the next day I'm coming out of my house.
And you had nothing to do with nothing, so
I didn't have nothing to do with nothing. Yeah,
yeah.
But the next morning, I'm going down the street, and I see the same dudes on the block. And it's just like, man, I need to get the fuck up out of here. Like, I can't. A bunch of pointless beef with some dudes I don't know because they were drunk, and you know what I mean? Yeah. I looked like an easy target, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it was too much for me. I just went and moved to some square-ass neighborhood out the way and called it a day, man.
Yeah, for
sure. I didn't have to look over my shoulder coming out the house.
Yeah.
It's just it's a nasty way to live.
Yeah.
It's a stressful way to live, and it causes you to do shit out of character yourself just because out of fear that someone might do something to you first. You know what I mean? Just like the simple fact of just putting a gun on you.
Yeah.
And you don't have a carry permit. You get pulled over, and now you got a gun charge. You didn't even do anything, but you're worried that someone might do something to you.
Now you put yourself in
Now you have a gun that's probably illegal. You almost definitely don't have a concealed carry. And then that's a charge right then and there.
And you definitely don't want to be in jail where there's no guns and they gonna be on your ass for nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, FBG, young man, I appreciate you coming in.
Appreciate you having me.
I wish you all the best, man. Listen, you're 28 right now.
Yeah.
You got kids.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think, I know you don't live in Chicago.
I'm better living, Vlad.
Yeah.
I ain't 100% just said fuck this shit, but I'm better living. I ain't stuck and stupid though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because let me tell you, a lot of people I've told that I've tried to share my advice, and I feel like they look at me and say, well, you don't know what you're talking about because you don't come where I come from. I remember me and Polo G got into it over text, and I was like, let me give you some advice. And he's like, fuck your advice. I would never take advice from you because you have no idea where I came from. And it's like, yeah, but I've been around
for sure
for more than twice the time that you've been here.
You got common sense, don't you?
And I've seen dudes like you over and over again who feel like it's not going to happen to them, and it happens to them. The gun charges and this and that, and I don't want this to happen.
But you like saying I told you so, though, huh?
I don't like to say I told you so. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
I do not. I do not. Because what does that accomplish? The person's gone. It just means that I wasn't, whatever I said wasn't powerful enough for them to actually internalize it.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? It means that maybe I should have used some different words. Maybe I should explain it a little bit differently. Or maybe I should have gotten someone that maybe they'll heed that advice a little more, because I'm 51, man. Like, being my age is great.
I don't know why people think you ain't so tapped in, or you just not in touch like you ain't been around.
I mean, I never grew up in the hood. I mean, you know, when I was a kid, my parents lived in the hood. You know what I'm saying, at one point, but I was a young kid at that point. I grew up middle class. But I've seen things over and over again happen. And you see the patterns and you see the mentality and you see people's refusal to accept that it'll probably happen to them. And they always think, well, it won't be me, or I'm going to be smarter, or I'm not going to end up like this person, or I know how to move. And you keep hearing these things over and over again. And then you see people like the Chief Keefs that say, fuck that. I'm just going to go to Calabasas where I don't have any enemies.
Yeah.
You see people, you know, move to Vegas and say, I'm cool. You see, you know, people that just say, you know, because when you look at all these crimes, they're almost always crimes of opportunity. You look at Fulio. He died in Florida. He's on Instagram talking about, I'm having a birthday party, DM me for the address.
Yeah, crazy.
One of the girls at his party,
Allegedly.
there is no allegedly, she's arrested.
Allegedly, though.
Well, she hasn't been convicted.
Yeah.
But allegedly, she was at his party and she texted his ops who showed up and killed him.
Loose.
Now, if he wasn't in Florida within driving distance of his enemies, if he was having his party in LA,
Shit could happen in LA too.
not in the same way.
It really can. It can happen anywhere. It really can happen in LA too. It's people get
Pop
around.
Smoke got killed in LA. PNB Rock got killed in LA. But those were robberies. Those were not their ops. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your ops, the people who really hate you, that have known you for 10, 15 years, and you fuck their girlfriend, and you know, their baby mother's listening to their music and pissing them off.
You done got so successful, now you taunting them, you coming back.
Boosie calls it hypnotized with hatred. Boosie moved out of Baton Rouge and went to Atlanta. He saw what was coming.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, your ops are not going to catch a plane flight and go find you somewhere in a different state. They're not going to try to get that plane, you know, they're not going to get on a plane with a gun. They're not going to try to go to some other state and get a gun from somebody and then try to figure out where you are at the mall or whatever else. No. Just like FBG Duck. Yo, he's downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like, how far is it from O Block to downtown?
Like 15 minutes.
15 minutes. See what I'm saying? If he was in a different state, he'd be alive today.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, man. Like, I hate seeing these patterns. I hate to see this over and over again. And, you know, I take no pleasure in saying I told you so. When a person dies, it's not like the footage becomes more valuable or anything of the sort. Like, you know what I mean? Like, footage becomes more valuable if the person becomes a bigger and bigger celebrity and does more and more shit. You know, and creates more timeless music or timeless art or whatever else. That's when footage becomes more valuable. Someone dies at 23, and you have an interview by him, nobody wins. You know what I'm saying? Like, their life gets cut short, and you have something from someone that never achieved their full potential. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? FBG, young man, appreciate you coming in. Wish you all the best.
For sure. Appreciate you, bro.
That's what it is, man. Peace.